2003 Saturn Vue 3-liter motor and transmission. As you're seeing it sit in the back of this pickup truck. Had nowhere else to put it, so well, back of the truck was easy enough to get it in the back of, and when I move the truck, it'll move along with me until I further my need with the motor. I'm going to put, I used to have it stored in a box liner, but I removed the engine from the K-framing, the support that supports the engine and transmission. I removed it from that. So here's the motor and transmission. Saturn Vue 3-liter. I'm going to change the spark plugs in the actual vehicle I'm driving. It's exactly the same motor, and I don't exactly know how to do it. It's the first time doing a plug exchange on a motor like this. What I do know is I'm going to try and get a video with it too, but I'm not sure. It's just going to be too time consuming, I think, so I'm not going to be able to. But anyhow, this whole plenum here has to come off. It's a quite large job to exchange the spark plugs in there, and down underneath here is your rail system that it's underneath. You can't even really see it. But that's where your spark plugs are. You can see that little piece right there. That lifts up, and then your spark plugs are down inside there. And there's no way of getting that because the plenum here is in the way. So this whole thing has to be lifted up and supported out of the way. My plan is just to hang it out of the way, so I don't have to unhook all the hoses. There's quite a large amount of hoses and different things I have to unhook and disassemble in order to make that happen. But that's what I need to do, and whoever has a motor like this, that's exactly what needs to happen before they can have their spark plugs changed. And believe it or not, the thermostat is underneath all of that. It's way down inside of here. And again, for the thermostat, this plenum has to come off. So at the same time as I'm doing the spark plugs, well, it just makes sense to change the thermostat along with the spark plugs. I wouldn't want to have a thermostat go bad and all of a sudden I have to pull the clement off just to change the thermostat. So I'm going to tackle both of them at the same time. It just makes sense to do so. It's going to cost a little extra money, but at least I'm going to save myself the grief of the thermostat going, down the road a little bit. The one that I'm doing, it's a 2003, and the person that had it didn't have a whole lot of history of the vehicle, but I can almost guarantee that they are the original spark plugs in that motor, just because of what's involved with changing them. Not many people would be willing to go through what's needed to go through in order to change the spark plugs in this motor, so they usually just neglect it and leave it alone until there's an obvious problem where it's missing on a cylinder or 2 cylinders or even worse. So I don't want that to happen, because you get very poor fuel mileage when you're having spark plugs that ain't firing and you're trying to drive your vehicle back and forth to work or back and forth to, from here to there. So that's my plans. That's what I'm going to do. I'll try and fill in everybody on the update and tell everybody how it went. This is a spare motor, so I'm not going to worry about the spark plugs. Actually, I'm probably going to, just so I can preserve the engine, I'm probably going to remove the plenum and remove the spark plugs so I can get some oil down in the cylinders to prevent it from seizing up. This motor is actually a really good motor, so I don't want the engine to seize up from sitting. I'm not exactly sure if I'll ever really need it or not, but just in case I do, I want to make sure the cylinder walls are well lubricated and the seizing does not take place. It'd be a shame from lack of neglect or lack of willingness on my part, and that's exactly the result I will get, is the engine seizing itself and becoming basically scrap weight. That's about all it would be worth. Not a whole lot would be left usable. I mean, there's the heads and all that type of stuff, and lots of parts on the engine yet to be usable, but the block itself, well, you just don't want the cylinder walls to rust up and seize everything tight so it doesn't move. Anyhow, thank you for watching.